Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Detroit Guitar Trio podcast. This time around, our episode is on left hand or fingerboard hand technique and energy. In roughly this order, we will discuss the placement of the left hand thumb, the use of arm weight to support the left hand, left arm alignment, playing next to the frets, and finally, left hand finger pressure and relaxation. Thank you for listening, and now on to the episode. Oh wow, we have returned. Oh my goodness, the boys are back. The boys are reassembled. Ready to go, ready to throw out hot takes, ready to give out the knowledge. That's what the goal is today, to enlighten the people. Today, our topic specifically is on left hand technique, exploring it more. I've been giving some more attention and affection to my left hand lately. I've been thinking about it more. I think that's a good opportunity good reason to talk about it on the good old podcast. So here we are, my latest obsessions. So here we go. Start with just some really basic stuff that's hopefully, helpful to anyone pursuing guitar. Some just general do's for the left hand. I'll throw them out there, I'll lay it down, and we'll see what we think collectively as a trio and refine our opinions. So just starting to build your left hand technique, some really basic, helpful guidelines. One, having your thumb, if you're playing classical guitar, this could be different if you have an instrument like an electric guitar with a very thin neck. Maybe you would do something different in the lower positions. But for classical guitar, good rule of thumb, pun intended, is to have your thumb flat on the back of the neck. A straight wrist, so your wrist not very curved. Keep your wrist and your palm nicely aligned together. That'll help your tendons out. Playing on the tips of your fingers, curling and playing on the tips of your fingers. So sometimes you can kind of get lazy and not be quite on the tips. But we want to aim for right on the tips of the fingers with nice arched fingers, all of the joints activated. Another nice thing to do is play right next to the frets. May not always be able to do that, a topic for discussion later in the podcast. But the closer you play to the frets, then the easier it is to get a bell tone and successfully, make a tone. So those are some nice, ground rules, which hopefully, we'll see what we think. Scott, what do you think about these basic things? Anything to add? Anything to disagree with? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I don't know. I think you said most of it. Obviously, might be more to it. Let's see. You talked about the arm balance.
We could talk about that away.
You're talking about that in the beginning. Before the podcast started, we discussed a bit of that.
You know what I'd like to fixate on? I'd like to fixate on the thumb. Can we talk?
Yeah,
I'd like Scott's take on the thumb. So, when we say, the thumb is flat on the back of the neck, we're not using the tip of our thumb. We're bending our thumb so that it's not pointing into the back of the neck. We see, young students do that. We're working on having our thumb extended. There are some questions I have for you, Scott, about students that have thumbs that kind of bend really far back, that hyperextend. I've got a question for that. But I also have a question about which way the thumb is kind of, let's say, pointing when it's on the back of the neck. Like this attitude, this rotation. I mean, it can vary, but just like a general, let's say you're in first position or fifth position, picking a position, this rotation of the thumb and even the thumb, I want to know what your take is on the thumb.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess I don't think too much about if it's pointing slightly maybe toward the head or toward the body. I think how it impacts the hand and the balance of the hand in general is probably what I'm looking for most. That would be the same answer for that kind of like bending back, where you have students who are kind of double jointed, so the thumb kind of has a U shape, in that direction. And actually, all three of my kids have thumbs like that. So I've worked with them and kind of talked with them about it. And it's a right hand, it's a rosette side issue too, because you're deciding like over there. So yeah,
So
I mean, I
deal
guess,
with that? How do you deal with
well,
that?
well, I mean, it's all for me. I always just handle it just like a tension consideration. So if there's tension in the hand, then it's more noticeable in those cases because it will bend back if there's tension. So yeah, I mean, I guess like a slight bending backward is just like small pressure, maybe, especially if it's lower on the neck, like if they're playing on the upper strings and it's lower on the neck.
That's another question I have.
Yeah.
Is placement across the width of the neck.
Yeah. I make little shifts with my thumb. So like my thumb doesn't always maintain the same spot. Like, if it's more toward where string 6 is, the lower strings, which are the lower in pitch, it might be in a different spot than if, you're playing primarily on the first string or the highest sounding
So
string.
here's a question.
Sure.
Generally, what I'm looking for is a thumb placement somewhere between, second and third finger. It can be closer to the first finger, depending on the anatomy of the student.
Yeah.
Mine tends to line up pretty much behind my second finger.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say your second finger is on a bass string, let's say string 5. Is your thumb kind of behind that on string 5? And if your second finger was like on, string 2, would your thumb kind of be more behind string 2?
Yeah, I mean, no, not maybe that high up. It might just be a little change. And obviously there are times when like you have a finger on a low bass string
And
an upper string.
Right.
And in those cases, you have a midpoint kind of balance. So, but
Right.
yeah.
When you're doing like melodic playing and you're only just playing kind of one voice at a time, it may have a little bit more support in just kind of on the string you're playing on. But when you're doing things that are more harmonic, especially if you're playing, a bass note on the wound strings and a melodic note on an unwound string, then it might be somewhere in between. I know that when I'm practicing like finger independence exercises on my left hand, I am generally like pretty much in the middle of the neck. And as I run through, not even just finger independence exercises, just finger left hand exercises, that I try to keep my thumb kind of centered, not so much that it's tension inducing, but enough where it kind of the work then causes my other fingers to have to open or curl more. So instead of, because if you keep your hand as one unit and you can just move your hand up and down the neck, and then this arch of our fingers that we've talked about remain the same.
Yeah.
Which can be a good thing, but it can also, I feel like, I don't know if that's a good thing, because I do think we want to train our hands to be more open and more closed, not just always kind of this same C shape. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I guess I imagine, I haven't really thought about this too much, but my guess is that, if you're kind of just like in the case of the left hand, like sometimes it's just necessary, or you might kind of play slightly out of position for just the briefest of moments. So you don't really change your hand position. You might just extend a finger outward. But if you're going to be in a different position for, a relatively extended period of time, then you would shift your hand. You would make a complete shift versus just extending a finger. So I feel like it's kind of in that kind of same way that, if you're playing on the higher strings, you can maintain that position more so that you just to make that easier, versus like if you can't, then you don't, you kind of live with what you can do. But the fact that you have that luxury at that time, then you make it easier. Do you understand that? Does that make sense at
Yeah,
all?
I find that when I'm doing exercises, they are literally exercises, and so working on the flexibility and the reach of my hands is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Across the latitude of the neck. When I am playing repertoire, it's in its most relaxed and least amount of pressure position.
Yeah.
It's in its most natural position. I feel like if I exercise, giving my hand that kind of flexibility, with it kind of being in a neutral spot relatively, um, and then when I go to play repertoire, I just play to make sure that there's minimal. I mean, there's barely any pressure on my thumb when I'm playing.
Yeah.
In general, you're not really grabbing. The only time there's pressure on my thumb is when I wouldn't even say pressure, is when I'm barring, which is something we can talk about later.
Yeah.
But that is using my thumb as kind of like a fulcrum point, for some torque, and a little bit of squeezing, because I've got a little bit. I'm not a big proponent of it, especially if your hands can if you don't have like deep grooves. If you got fat fingers, you don't need to. But I got bony fingers, and my creases line up like perfectly with the strings. So sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, in that same way that you're talking about, like when you're playing repertoire, like it's not an exercise,
Yes.
And I never treat pieces that I want to play as repertoire like exercises. Like I'm not going to say, oh, I need to work on my A finger, so I should have my my A finger play this. Now, if it's like part of what maybe would make the music kind of sound the best, then I would make that choice. But I'm not like, I'm never doing things. I'm always looking for the best fingerings that are, and those are like both the easiest or whatever is necessary for making the music come out the way I want it to. So so I think I guess that would probably be my answer to the question, is that you're basically just if you're going to be on the upper strings for an extended period of time, then you might shift just to out of comfort and maintaining the best position, which is that kind of like a nice kind of curled profile with your fingers.
One thing we can talk about a little bit is, I know you want to talk about arm weight and hand weight.
Oh yeah.
Arm weight. And so we can get into that later if you still want to. I know you mentioned that.
Yeah.
But doing exercises without the thumb on the back of the neck, getting this weight. I think the thumb is an important contact point, and kind of keeping it in a neutral zone, I think, is important, like in a similar lane most of the time. I think is important, because then you get used to how open and closed your hands are. So when I'm this rounded, I'm on string 1. When I'm more open, I'm on string 4 or string 5. So I think it's part of a muscle memory of knowing where you are on the fingerboard without having to look. So the thumb position on the back of the neck, I think, affects that greatly. Now, we don't, at least us three, we don't play with our eyes closed all the time. But there are players that do, and I wonder, when I watch them, their thumb position is really consistent, is what I see. Watch Marco Topci; he plays a lot with his eyes closed, and his thumb seems to be mostly unless he's doing some crazy finger pattern. But it was something I was watching. I was just watching him play something last week. Yeah. So I wonder if that's important too.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to watch a lot of videos on that. But I mean, the movement of the thumb, like you're describing, when people do move it in that way, is pretty subtle too. So I mean, it's not necessarily fixed. It might be like, let's say the thumb is behind 4, then maybe at some point it's kind of between 3 and 4, and then at some point it might be a little bit 4 and 5 or something. So
Right.
It's those types of micro kind of movements that I think facilitate that type of playing. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and then playing without the thumb again. These are exercises, not playing repertoire. Doing exercises, and it's mainly, like even if you're doing like a chromatic scale, it's just to make sure that you can feel the weight. And I'm not saying like where your arm is dead weight, but you do feel you're attuned and sensitive to your arm weight and gravity. I'm not saying just let your arm hang all of a sudden. You'll pull the strings right off the guitar. Me and my fat, chubby arms.
Too much power.
Yeah.
It is something though. Like I think there's always some trade-offs, right? So just kind of being aware of the weight, I think is something. So just taking our thumb off sometimes, but I don't ever think I really play with my thumb ever off. Sometimes I've seen kids when they do vibrato, they'll take their thumb off so they can really wail on it, which is that's when they accidentally fall off the string and twang. But I think that's not right either. But what are your thoughts on this, Ben, on the thumb after you've heard me and Scott talk?
Yeah. I mean, one thing you guys were going on a bit about is the placement of the thumb on the neck, whether or not it moves if you're on treble strings to be more in line with those treble strings and not so much centered with the neck. I haven't explored that a lot. What I find is that I've been playing around with my thumb placement on the neck along the spectrum of behind the bass string and then the other extreme of the spectrum being behind a treble string. I find that I gravitate towards the center of the neck because that's what keeps my wrist straight. I find that if my thumb is like behind a bass string, then my wrist starts kind of caving in. And then if I'm by a treble string, then my wrist just kind of comes out too far. So I find that if I'm mostly centered on the neck, then my wrist is the most comfortable. So I think when I haven't actually explored this a whole lot on changing my thumb position in that kind of vertical dimension. When I'm getting on the treble strings, I'm probably just curling my fingers more to compensate and not actually moving my thumb so much. So I think I might be in some agreement with Scott that if there is a thumb position adjustment on the vertical scale, it's probably pretty subtle. If I had to kind of think about what I'm probably doing.
Just to kind of follow up on this topic, I think it might also be impacted by hand size too.
Yeah.
And if your wrist is bending, like I've seen students do that too, and I know Tony has as well, like where the thumb is all the way up and the wrist is kind of pushed in versus out like that. I mean, that's a different problem. You can play with a very low thumb and have a nice positioned wrist.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah, you can.
Interesting.
I mean, you have to. Well, all you're doing is moving your whole hand down like that.
So it would just kind of be the tip of your thumb.
Yeah, this is kind of pushing out your wrist.
Yeah. That's okay, different. So you could just
you drop your arm. You drop your arm.
And that would compensate for it. Yeah, I suppose that is the case. Yeah.
But anyway, I think I don't know.
Yeah, you could do that. Yeah, there's that. Another thing I like to fixate on that Tony brought up a little bit is what left-hand finger the thumb is behind. Because I've heard a couple different things. I think I've heard behind the second finger the most, where your thumb is lined up behind your second finger. And that's what I go for. That's what kind of feels the most natural for me. But I've heard third finger a couple times, or kind of in between the second and third finger. That's always felt really strange to me.
Well, I think have
you guys heard anything about that, getting it behind the third finger?
Yeah, I think as Tony was talking about too, it's like basically just different hands, kind of slightly different positions. I think you were saying that as you brought up that topic.
Yeah, a little bit about the anatomy. I mean, for myself, it is more behind the second finger.
Yeah.
But for some kids, it's more between 2 and 3. I think the shorter the thumb, the
Huh.
longer the thumb seems to be. See, I got to think more about it and just be
I know.
more aware of. That's why even myself lately, as we had talked briefly about this topic weeks ago, I've been watching students and paying attention to myself and watching video or paying attention to it as I've watched other guitarists.
Yeah.
And I think the thumb placement is extremely important because it really sets up the hand. It sets up the elbow and the angle of your arm. It sets up the attitude of the back of your hand, which, for me, I like these knuckles, the big knuckle group or the palm of your hand parallel with the fingerboard in general. It gets a little bit harder, when you get into first position. It's not the most fun position to play in,
Yep.
which is like really a kind of uncomfortable if you think about.
It is.
But
It's one we start out in too.
I know.
It's like, what in the world?
It's like we should all start with capos and then work our way back.
Yeah.
Week by week, we graduate one fret back.
Yeah. There we go.
But yeah, I think that thumb position, is something that is really, at least for teaching, really gets the hand in the ballpark. As long as you get the thumb kind of in the right spot, and then you kind of get the elbow to support, so that way your wrist is straight and not bent side to side. So I find a lot of students like to bring their elbows into their sides.
Yeah,
Just getting
I've
the
seen that a few
elbow up,
times.
getting the elbow up a little bit. It requires some support, I think, from the shoulder. I know there is a big push for that elbow down kind of in, but I feel like that can be too much into the ribs. I feel like the elbow needs to be up a little bit more. It depends on how you hold the guitar, but just so your palm is, or like those large knuckle group is parallel or in line with the neck. What are your thoughts on that large knuckle group, Scott, being in line with the neck?
Yeah,
it's a good place to start.
I think you nailed it there. I think if you just kind of like, you want to always keep it there and maintain that kind of parallel line between the fretboard, I think that's a bit of a mistake because but in general, it's something to shoot for.
Yeah, we have, a phrase I always tell my students, I catch myself, is you always want to support your weakest finger. So I know, if you've got a fourth finger or third finger and you make your fourth finger look really good, and then you stretch with your first finger. I know you're tapping on this topic at the beginning, Ben, about this extension.
Well, we can go at whatever we want, man.
Same thing is
go for it.
Making sure your hand looks good for your weaker fingers, 3 and 4. If your hand is twisted away, if your knuckle line is twisted away from that, your fourth finger has to extend, and then you're like, how do you play on the tip of your pinky? You can't, right?
Yeah.
I feel like our first fingers is one of our strongest fingers in most hands, but I also feel like it's the most flexible. We do bar with it, we half bar, and we do all sorts of other. We play on the side of the tip, on the tippy tip. It's the one that kind of does more. We get into pinky bars later, but
painful.
So supporting your weaker fingers, which would be 3 and 4. 3 isn't too weak for me, but fourth fingers is really my weakest finger. So having the thumb and the alignment of the hand and the knuckles kind of supporting that, and then adjusting so my other fingers can reach awkward things. If my fourth finger's playing. If it's not playing, whatever is the weakest finger in that chord or interval or sequence, if it's my third finger is the weakest, then I will support my third finger, make 1 and 2 do the hard work.
Yeah, let's do this now. Let's rank the weakest fingers from weakest to strongest. What do you think, Ben?
A tier list? I don't know. I feel like it's fairly straightforward. I feel
okay, well, what is it then?
Index is probably the strongest. So first finger.
Okay, hold on a second. Okay, I.
Yeah. Well,
Talking
we're
about
talking
I
about
on the
left
right
hand.
hand? Are you talking about I on the right hand? Or
I mean, we're talking about left
can
hand.
you use a
So-
conventional PIMA
I
and
was
then 1, 2, 3, 4?
I was doing both. I was going index and then I said first
No,
finger.
let's just talk about the fretboard hand since that's
Yeah,
the topic
yeah.
of the podcast. Okay, so
Index,
is it
so
finger
first
one?
finger.
Finger one?
Yeah, first finger. Yeah.
Okay.
I would say it's the strongest. Hot take there.
Oh, it's the strongest. Okay.
Yeah, it's the strongest, and then that's my weakest finger. My pinky's swole. And then probably 2, and then 3, and then 4. I don't know. I just 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's what I would say. Why is your pinky stronger than your first finger?
No, but I would say I'd say 3 and 4 are probably just because of how they sit, more balanced. That they are, one like okay, so yeah, I would
think
say
they're stronger?
I'd say 2 and 3. I'm not talking about strength because I don't think there's a lot of strength. I think the way they sit on the fretboard,
On the guitar,
that
as far
they're
as
the most
comfort?
balance point. And
third finger can really get right on the tip.
yeah, well, and it's
And
like
first may be stronger physically, but first ends up on the side a lot.
well, it is on
So
the
there
side.
is a sense that there's some awkwardness tied to the
stronger,
first finger.
yeah, stronger in the sense that it's just harder to play.
Yeah,
Gotta
I
get the
think
right
that a little.
technique.
When I say weakest finger, I mean like least flexible in its ability to do things.
Uh-huh.
Its ability to stretch. I'm not gonna make my fourth finger stretch. I'm gonna make my first finger stretch. I'm not gonna I'm gonna avoid a third finger to fourth finger hammer on, and I'm gonna try to shift to do 2, 3, or 1, 2, or some other combination
Mhm.
if I can. If I can't, I work on my 3, 4 hammer-ons and pull-offs. I can do them, but I will try to avoid them, knowing that it's not my strongest. But I have no problem doing them. I do them all the time.
Sure.
But again, I just knowing that it's the least secure and maybe the least reliable. For me, it's extremely reliable, but it's still out of all of them, it's the least.
Oh,
Yeah, so I try
4
to
definitely. We all agree 4. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like my third finger is quite strong. However, I don't, as far as strength, I think it's very strong. However, I don't feel like it is the most flexible with reach. Just how 3 and 4 are connected.
Yeah.
So 4 can limit my third finger. If 4, because I'm supporting my pinky because it's weaker, but then it kind of limits what my third finger can do, because how 3 and 4 are so connected that sometimes my third finger independence actually is harder. So as far as finger independence goes, my third finger is like reaching vertically across, not vertically.
Yeah, you're right.
Vertically across the strings, going from like if finger 4 is on string 2, and then I got to move finger 3 from string 1, then to string 4. It's hard for my third finger to do that because of how connected it is to 4, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
you gotta snip that tendon, dude. You gotta pull a shoe-mine. You just gotta snip that bugger. Free.
I broke my fourth finger.
Oh, really?
Carpal, yeah.
Ooh.
Years ago, 2002, 2003.
Wow.
And I don't have any pain, any residuals. I did for some time, maybe if I over practiced. But even now, I can practice a couple hours and not have any pain. But comes and goes. I'm also getting older, so I mean, even my knee, everything hurts occasionally. When you wake up, you're stiff.
Yeah. That's how it is, man. I broke my toe.
Yeah.
Fortunately, that doesn't affect my playing.
That midlife pinky.
I bet you it affected your playing.
It might have. It did for the first week when it was smarting. Now I can't sit on my chair properly with my broken toe.
So
important for balance.
Tony brought up
big toe too.
Tony brought up the gravity with the left hand.
Let's get into it. Let's get into it right now.
Because you know what, I don't.
Let's do it.
I understand the gravity argument, but for me, I've never been able to tap into it completely, and I feel
I have similar qualms.
I feel like the bigger thing that you're doing there is just using the bicep, like the arm muscle, and that's part of you kind of have this thing, and I like the idea of the counterweight of your arm on the other side of the guitar.
Yeah,
you have this kind of like
it up too.
This thing over there.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, what do you think about the gravity, like more specifically, Tony, and how have you used that? Because I always kind of struggle to feel it completely. My guitar is also more kind of upright versus leaning back. I try to do that a little bit, but I can't.
Have the face of the guitar tilted so far towards you, right?
Yeah,
That is an issue, right? Because like I said, if you just have gravity and you're just pulling down, your gravity's going, down to the ground. That's what I mean. Where you're kind of just pulling the strings up. Our arms are heavy too,
yeah,
so I think it's more. I think it's a concept of it's being aware of the weight that your arm has. Don't use the full weight of your arm, just being aware of the weight, being aware of the sensation of gravity. It's just like how we are aware of when we are right next to the frets, we can feel them on the edge of our finger, just ever so slightly. So it's not that like you are always playing with your finger jammed up next to the fret, but you are playing in a way that you are aware of that sensation. So when you are practicing, you are aware of that sensation. When you're practicing, you are aware of the sensation that, hey, my arm does have weight. Um, and I'm not using it all, but I am using it in combination with my fingers, because like you would always need a finger on to keep your hand up from falling if you let your arm have all this weight. Like you would always need some finger um, engaged on the string, right?
yeah.
And I don't, I think there are exercises and things that we can do to be aware of. I like chromatic scales.
Hmm.
I've been on a kick for that. I'm moving on now, but when I was doing those, I would sometimes do that a few repetitions and just feel the weight on each finger and feel the string and just be aware of of those sensations. It's a tactile awareness rather than a technique.
Sure.
I
can
think
see
is the
that.
best way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, really, and if you think about it, and we try to demonstrate this to students who are really trying to press down, that it really doesn't require that much pressure to press the strings into the fret,
Yeah,
It's
it
like
doesn't.
it's pretty subtle, so a small amount of weight can go pretty far.
Especially little fingers aren't strong
Yeah.
yet, so it's asking them to like you don't ask them to squeeze, but in their mind they think they're squeezing.
Yeah.
So getting away from that, um, yeah, I have a lot of tips for that, but
Yeah.
that's teaching.
So, Tony, when
Kids.
you're playing, to continue to fixate on this arm weight thing,
Yeah.
which is more of just a sensation than actually doing it, perhaps, how much pressure are you putting onto your thumb when you're not barring in general?
Very
Like,
little.
very little?
Very little.
Very little to none. So you're using
Well,
your
I can't
thumb
say
more as
none.
a...
It's more of a counterbalance. A counter.
So there's a little bit in there, but not much. I'm plumbing the depths, man. I'm getting specific.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about. Yeah.
How much?
I mean, it's so little.
It's subtle.
I'm practicing it to be so little.
Yeah.
Because like when I've played stuff and I take my thumb off, some things are not like multiple shapes.
Yeah.
It's not
If
just
it's a bigger shape and you
yeah.
need more pressure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and across the range of the fingerboard, lateral or vertically. Yeah, I mean, sometimes that you need, like, I can do it, but then I find like it's excessive weight, and you need a little bit of thumb support.
A little bit of thumb support. I have another question for you.
Well,
So the thing I hear you put forward this one exercise. We'll look at this in extreme, and I'm getting the sense that this whole thing with arm weight is a very subtle thing. It's not as cut and dry as I was thinking about it in the past. But let's do a very extreme example anyway to help us out. So you gave an example of the exercise. Maybe you're just doing a chromatic scale, and you're doing an extreme of keeping all of your thumb weight off, so you're having no thumb pressure.
The thumb
It's
is in
all
the air.
arm weight.
Yep.
So in that exercise, when you're doing all arm weight, in my experience, that pressure from your arm coming down on the fingerboard and the strings has to go somewhere. And for me, the counter pressure point is the contact of my right arm on the body of the guitar. That's where I feel the counter pressure.
Right.
Where are you feeling, if any, counter pressure when you're doing that extreme of an exercise? Are you feeling it on your arm's contact point on the body?
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, it has to go somewhere. Has to go somewhere.
For sure.
Yeah. My thing that I don't like about that sensation is it feels like it's cutting my circulation off a little.
Yeah, it's because you got fat arms.
I got skinny little arms, dude.
I know, that's why.
I
ridiculous.
see.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that if you really.
Yeah.
I would. No,
You'd say it's because of my dainty little arms. If I had some meat
I'm just
flaps.
being
You're good, man.
childish.
It's my skinny arms, dude.
You need a compression sleeve, Ben.
I need to build mass.
Always wear the compression sleeve.
I do not like that pressure on.
It feels
on the
uncomfortable.
plucking arm. No,
I
and
don't
that's
like it.
I think it's too much weight, right? So
Yeah.
yeah.
What I'm getting the sense is, and what I'm starting to do, is tap into that feeling of the arm weight, but my end goal is to implement it in a subtle way.
So
It's not so extreme, but I'm thinking that if you really implement it in a subtle way, it could go a long way towards just helping your hand not get exhausted and cramp up. That's kind of my suspicion. Also, it might have to do with alignment. Like if your arm is well aligned, then you can put a nice sense of weight on it. So it might also be an alignment thing. But I'm dubious of the idea in the extreme. And that extreme being you can play any kind of chord shape just with arm weight and no thumb weight at all.
I mean, I can, but I wouldn't do it in performance.
Yeah,
it's unreliable.
Feels awkward and weird.
I mean, yeah. Like,
just lift your. Go ahead, Tony. Sorry.
Yeah, even like bar chords. Like I've done it with just bar chords without thumb.
You can. I feel like you're gonna break your guitar. Maybe.
No, you can do it with just the right amount of just the right angle vector of force.
Yeah.
But like again, I feel like that's you need an excessive amount of force, which then is I think any technique in excess is.
Yeah, I think that's what's happening here.
And once again, I think it's more just again when I do these exercises, it's just building an awareness of the weight.
Yeah.
Just like when we're playing and doing a tension check, we're doing body checks as we're playing for tension. It's the same thing. I'm doing a body check for tension, but you can also do exercises where I'm doing a body check knowing that I do have weight to help support the left hand.
Yeah.
And I can feel it. And when I need to tap into that for something, it's a tool. It's okay. Hey, here, when I'm playing this passage or this shape or this thing here, I can use a little bit more arm weight to help so I can play with less gripping tension, perhaps.
Yeah.
So, at that point, I might use more weight and I have to use more counterbalance, but it's not something I'm going to use 100% of the time. I think that's just insane.
Yeah. That approach makes more sense to me. Doing an
extreme
extreme exercise like that, so it makes it very obvious where your arm weight comes from. And then when you do need to tap into it in a real life scenario, you can do it in a more subtle, manageable way. That makes more sense to me.
Well, I guess I think it is interesting to kind of not have the right arm on a guitar, and then to see how your guitar moves a lot. And it's just a subtle thing. It doesn't take much, for the guitar to kind of shift out balance. And it's not like you're applying so much pressure at that point as a counterweight. It just needs. I mean, it's that thing. Like I have students, when we're kind of first doing position, we talk about this, you can kind of find a balance point with your guitar where you don't even need your arms on it.
Yeah, I played around with that a little.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you can do that, but you can also just stick one finger lightly on the back body, like on the top back body there, you know, and then the guitar is just, it's beautifully balanced. It's like you're putting like the smallest amount of weight, like just a small magnet or something on the back there, and that balances out the head, like the uneven weight distribution of the head. So it's pretty subtle.
The difficult thing with young students is you look at these, you got a half-size guitar. Guess what size the headstock is?
Yeah,
It's a full-size headstock because, you got to fit these tuners and, so the heads are quite heavy. And then the kids are constantly growing. And so their chair height is changing. Their footrest height is changing. Their torso. So I try to find working positions and, and then revisit, because you're always juggling different things. Okay, well, the posture's pretty good. And
yeah, but I mean, kind of apart from students, there's just as an example, like that right arm weight balance for the left arm weight is very small. So like if you're feeling a lot of that, then it might just be that you're really digging in with your left hand or something.
Yeah, just being too excessive.
So being way too excessive, because really like I know too, like sometimes like in repertoire or whatever, like if I'm playing something and I have to go, maybe I shift down into first position or something, or I have like kind of like an open slur, open to like something slur, then I might use a bit of my, my hand to kind of like, to get more volume out of that, and then that would be a little shift in my playing.
You said very little, like just like one finger.
Yeah, that was my point.
It could be very small. Yeah, I do like the idea of the guitar being able to balance without any outside force.
That's tricky to
do. But you know what? I think as I think about this, I got two guitars, nice guitars that I use, and one of them is African Blackwood, and the body is very heavy.
Nice, yeah.
And the other one is maple, and the body's very light. So it's something I do notice just sitting and being able to move my hands. I can't.
Not going anywhere.
I can't do that on my maple guitar, but I can. I can comfortably do it on the Blackwood guitar. So it's interesting. I'll have to play with see how those.
You should play with them both at the same time, and they'd balance each other out.
Right.
There you go. Yeah. One thing I've been playing around with for a while, is just having my arm like float and like just ever so slightly touch my I have to reverse it in my head for
just the arm
for
over
the rest
body.
Of the world. Yeah, the arm that contacts on the body, just having that almost float, but just ever so slightly touch.
Yeah.
Was what I was doing for a while, and that helped me out a lot with stability, counterintuitively, perhaps, because it really connects your arm with your back and just your whole body. So you're really just feeling your entire body energy is supporting your arm instead of it being cut off and it just being your hand and having it rest on the body. But I want to start tapping in to this subtle arm weight in the fingerboard hand. And you can't do that if your arm is basically floating. So I've been working on mixing the both together. That's my next exciting endeavor, is to have my arm resting on the body of the guitar, but have energy in it such that it feels like it's floating.
So maybe when you get your new guitar, Ben, you need to get one of those little edges, those smooth edges.
You mean an armrest?
An armrest on the guitar, yeah.
Yeah, those could be nice, so the angle's not as sharp. But actually, it's my current guitar. It's a lovely guitar. I love my current guitar, but it's a smaller scale, and I don't need a smaller scale. I'm a tall person, and I got long arms and hands.
You grew up.
I grew up. I got it when I got that guitar when I think I was 16. So I've had it for a good 10 years now. But it's just so small. Like, it's so hard. I'm like, my contact point is so close to my hand with how long my arms are. So I think that might make things more awkward as far as feeling that counterbalance.
Yeah.
So that might also be contributing, as I just need a bigger guitar, and that might help a bit. But anyways, that's my most recent endeavor, to combine them both together. So we'll see if I can tap into that subtle energy and if it can make a difference. Because as Scott said earlier, it really doesn't take that much energy to push the string down. So if you mix in just the slightest amount of arm weight, it could probably go a long way. I mean, that's what a lot of people say, anyway.
So what else? What other curiosities do you have about the left hand, Ben?
Well, while we're on arm weight, you talk a little bit more about the elbow and the shoulder. Recently, I've been playing around with the head being higher. So not even at eye level, like maybe a little bit higher than eye level. So in order to play in the first positions, especially if you're doing something a little extreme like a B7 shape, like the classic B7 shape in first position,
Nice.
like a cowboy chord, timeless chord shape right there.
So
Yeah, you have to raise your elbow up and activate your shoulder quite a bit. If you're going for a higher head. And I've been exploring, is that healthy? Is
Yes.
that okay to do?
Yes,
Tony
because you're
thinks
not doing
yes.
it all the time.
I don't know. I do a lot of first position playing. I mean, I'm not
So,
doing a B7.
yeah, I mean, we do a lot of
24/7.
teaching and we do a lot of first position playing.
Yeah, we
and-
do.
But we're not talking about. You're not talking about. You're talking about the B7 chord, where you do
Mhm.
have to have. I mean, there's plenty of other chord shapes where we have to have the elbow up.
There are.
It
are.
You are not playing like that the whole time. Just
No,
like,
not the whole
yeah.
time.
So,
Not the whole time.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, I mean,
it's dynamic.
violinists, they have to raise their shoulders, right?
You have to play on the lower
When they get on a
strings.
lower string, so they got to activate their shoulder. I was playing around with it too. One nice exercise you can do if you're feeling out your fingerboard hand.
I have no idea how to play the violin. I'm trying to think of my hand like bowing, and I'm just like a violin like player would be like so upset to see that.
Yeah. You gotta take lessons, man. Suzuki violin.
Yeah.
Get a new perspective. But if you let your whole arm go limp, and then slowly bring it up to meet the fingerboard, like you have to activate your arm and your shoulder muscles right away as soon as you start lifting your arm. So it's like, what difference does it make to activate the shoulder just a bit more higher? I mean, it has to be activated no matter what. So I think it's fine. I mean, you see a violinist doing it, you see pipa players, they activate their shoulders,
They're always in the gym though, those pipa players.
Yeah, I'll bet they are.
I'm getting swole.
Yeah, so, yeah, we think it's healthy. What do you think, Scott? You think it's healthy to have your shoulder be pretty activated?
I think
Raised up
when you
fairly
need it.
high.
Yeah, when you
When
need
you
it,
need it.
you use it.
Yeah.
Seems reasonable to me.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know about too much. Like, I wouldn't like. I don't know. I don't know how high the head is. I think that's the case where like the left hand might like that everybody's favorite B7 chord.
Yeah.
that
Classic.
that might be. Well, that is definitely a time where like maybe the knuckles of your hand are not.
Yeah, they can't be parallel because you're getting all those fingers on one fret.
So, I mean, there's a bit of that. The wrist. Obviously you're not bending the wrist.
Yeah, you would want to bring your elbow up so that you.
So that's the reason for that elbow. But I think, yeah, I think that slight elbow up, but I just don't think it's that high too.
Yeah.
You're not like this. Where you're like
Yeah, not that high.
It's slightly up. It's like maybe I would So I mean, at this point, then you kind of like maybe an inch or two. What do you think? How much are you moving your elbow?
I mean, I can kind of show, like, if I'm hitting this B7, I'm about.
That's wow.
I'm probably about. I'm probably.
Your
up
upper
about
arm
this
is
high.
like almost parallel with the floor.
It's getting.
Are
close.
you like? Is your name Paul or something? How high is your guitar?
It's. I mean, you've seen it. It's how it's been in rehearsals for performance. I haven't changed it. It's a little high.
I mean, I guess like
It's about as high as yours. You have
I
yours
guess
up pretty high.
if your upper arm is parallel to the ground,
Think that's too much?
that would be more like you're playing the viola. I'm sorry, the cello. You know, right?
Yeah.
Like you're kind of doing this with the cello versus
Cellists do it. Why can't we do it?
I don't know.
A double
they
bass
usually
player. A
don't
double
have-
bass
They
player
don't have
has
their
to.
elbows up that high.
Yeah, they maybe don't even have it up that high, but I guess like so how? But you're really raising.
I mean, let's see.
When you just gave me an example, you raised your arm almost parallel to the ground.
This isn't. I don't have this guitar set up,
Okay.
but this is about. This would be about.
Okay, play your B7 chord, man.
That is not where.
Okay, move
it's
your
lower?
thumb up.
Think
Raise
it's
your
lower?
thumb. You need to raise your thumb. Okay. Oh,
Look at
your wrist is bent.
Well, it's a little bent.
Okay.
That's fine. I got to do what I got to do to get my cowboy
Picasso.
foot.
But you see, his elbow is not nearly as
It's
high.
not
as
as
he's
high as it
demonstrating.
was.
Not even close. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay. I
Well,
just
then
think
that's not so bad, is it?
the example you gave made it seem
Yeah. I mean, I was feeling it out.
that is kind of high. Yeah.
It is kind of high, though.
It is.
Yeah, I don't know. I had a knot in the back of my shoulder for a while, but I worked it out at the gym, so I'm fine now.
Nice.
So maybe I just had to get my elbow, or not my elbow, my shoulder stronger. But I'm feeling it out. I feel like it's just something I'll keep doing over the months, and if I injure myself, then that's a sign.
I mean, I follow. I mean, it's an interesting topic, but I follow a number of concert masters and soloists, like violinists, and on social media, and there is an underlying thread of them all working out.
Yeah.
Almost them all doing something physically active.
Mm.
They are not just, and they make a point of it, and they talk about how important it is for their position.
Yeah.
So having a physically fit body, I think, is important for playing musical instruments. I think that's a good episode. We could talk about is just
Save it. The gym episode.
Yeah.
Gym episode.
I can see the thumbnail.
Where we get swole.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. I'm telling you, man.
We can call it pumping nylon.
Oh my word! We could plagiarize.
Oh.
We could steal other people's ideas. We could do that. But at the gym I've been going recently, I found this shoulder press where you just straight up lift above your head, and it was helping a lot. I was like, ooh, this is a nice one. It's like a difficult machine to do, but it worked it out. My shoulder feels a lot better,
Nice.
So it made a difference. But okay, we'll see. I mean, a double bass player, they have to raise their arms up quite a bit. Although I was talking to a guy, interestingly. He does physical therapy, but he has a background in music, so he would work with a lot of musicians. And he said that double bass players, they'll get some arm injuries because of how high they have to raise their arms up. So maybe, I don't know, maybe double bass isn't the best example. But they do have to do it. They do
physically
have to raise their
demanding
arms
instrument.
up.
Yeah.
That's a massive instrument, man.
I mean, even the amount you have to press the strings in seems like a lot. I have no idea how it actually works, but
Yeah, I wonder if they
seems
use their
very
arm
different.
weight. But yeah. So, well, I'm gonna keep doing it. And see what happens. Maybe I'll get injured. I mean, a lot of players nowadays they'll have higher heads. They seem to be doing okay. I think can I remember how to pronounce his name? It's Javier Jara. It looks like Xavier.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jara.
Jara. Yeah.
Jara.
I think I saw some recent videos of him, and his head did get lower. But there's a nice recording of him playing the mysterious barricades or something like that. I think that's what it's called. But he's got his head up so high. I was watching his arm and his shoulder, and he had like tons of shoulder and arm activation.
The reach in his fingers is insane. His hands can reach so much, and the flexibility is insane.
Yeah.
He's kind of like an anomaly.
Yeah, that's the thing. You also have to be careful. It's like,
Yeah.
is this just something that he's able to do?
But a phenomenal,
I know.
phenomenal,
Really great player.
musician. Like the music it's so thoughtful,
very expressive.
but then he's got the technique to back it all up, and you're just like, holy cow.
Yeah, so he was activating his shoulder, so we'll see.
I think he's also pretty tall. Not tall, but his arms are long. Long
Yeah.
fingers, pretty lanky.
Yeah. So, but anyways, all right, we'll carry on. See what happens to my shoulder. Yeah, we touched on this a little bit. Rule of thumb is to play close to the frets, but is it true that there are some, chord shapes where you can't get all your fingers close to the frets, of course?
Yes.
Yeah. I think that's a nice distinction to make. I got fixated on it for a while. I'm like, I gotta get every one of them as close as possible to the frets.
Well, I think that's an important stepping stone. You need to know, can I do it? And if I can't, where am I making my compromise?
Yeah, I think that's just necessary because our hands aren't machines. And they're oblong and straight.
With your long fingers and your tiny guitar, you can't get all your fingers.
I should be able to, shouldn't you? Not a poor excuse. My guitar's so small, I can get them all in there, dude, every time. You get all yours right next to the fret all the time, right, Scott? Every time?
I don't know.
Most efficient at all times? Even if you got to bend your wrist?
I doubt that, yeah. No.
Oh, man.
No, I mean, yeah, there's definitely situations where, especially with chords and stuff like that, where you just make a compromise.
Wow. Just gotta do it, man.
So, one of the things I want with this, we were talking about getting our fingers next to the frets, is the concept of tone, the concept of our sound. I do find if we tighten up and bear down on the neck, one, the guitar doesn't resonate as well.
Really? Like if you're over pushing down?
If you over squeeze. The other thing is if you over squeeze or you're using too much arm weight, you can pull the string out of tune.
You can. Yeah.
And that's another thing like we have to be careful about doing is like if you're pulling down towards the ground, you're kind of pulling your string sideways. And then what are you doing? You're bending your strings out of tune.
Yeah.
So there is a consideration there. So I don't know, everything. I've mentioned this in several episodes. Everything is in service of the music when I'm playing the music. When I'm playing my exercises, it's for flexibility and for just the abilities of my fingers. But when it comes to the music, it's like everything is in service of the music. So if I have to be tense to hit a chord shape, guess what? I'm going to be tense so that it rings out right. And then immediately afterwards, I will practice relaxing afterwards. There are some shapes where you're stretching and you kind of have to bear down a little bit to get it. And I'm fine with that. I'm not doing that. That only happens 0.5% of the time. Mm-hmm. And I just know why and when I'm doing it. And I know, and then I'm also practicing the release of that tension.
Yeah.
And so, with this concept of weight, if it's excessive, we're screwing up our sound. Our tone isn't as good. If we're squeezing too hard, it screws up our tone. If we're not next to the fret, it screws up our tone. There are always exceptions to these. And so, okay, can I still get a bell tone because I can't make it next to the fret? Well, guess what? I'm going to have to squeeze hard. There might have to be some pressure there. I might actually have to squeeze. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
For the music. Yeah, I mean, my hand would love to not have to put any pressure, but I can't use weight in this shape because I'm stretching over here. And, I don't know. The repertoire I'm working on right now is really hard. And there's a couple spots where I know, I'm just kind of grabbing the chord to make it work because it's a huge stretch.
Yeah.
I've half considered changing, moving some of the notes around. And I'm like, no, I don't want to transpose a note up an octave or something to make it easier because it takes away from a line. But, I mean, I've considered it.
Yeah. I'll give you my little guitar, dude. You'll be fine.
Your little guitar what?
I'll give you my little guitar and you'll be okay. You can.
My neck is the same string length as yours.
That's true. It wouldn't help anymore.
So
can't help you.
Here's maybe a different take on something.
Please.
Okay, so I think it's interesting, especially when I'm talking to students. I remember realizing this at some point too, and it's funny when I come to things like I feel like, "Oh, you didn't know that, like 10 years ago, you should have known that." Like, but so when you're doing slurs, so pressure during slurs, and I think one thing that's interesting, and I make sure to tell students when they're doing it because it's very confusing. You have like, so say you have a slur that's taking place between 4 and 2. Okay. And so then, 2,
4 to 2 or 2 to 4?
4 to 2.
Okay.
And what's interesting about the descending slur in that sense is that, the note that you execute with 4 is resonating on 2. That's the note. And that's the finger that maintains the pressure on the fret. And maybe this is kind of more in slur technique, but I think it's easy, especially for beginners, to forget that finger has to maintain pressure. And I think the focus can be on the 4, the starting note, the initial tone. So
pivoting to descending slurs, the weight of the majority of the weight is on the finger that you are descending to.
yes, yeah,
Yeah.
I think that
you don't want to have all this weight on 4. It makes it really hard to move it.
yeah, and it can make it snappy sounding and everything. Yeah, it's like, so I mean, I think that kind of that subtlety is, again, it's something to kind of be aware of. And
Yeah, the energy of slurs, I think, I mean, that's a whole nother.
yeah, that could be a whole episode, but I do think it has left hand. There's some kind of
slur
left hand pressure.
energy.
I have this imagery of like snapping our fingers. Like when I show students, like when I snap my fingers, I'm not sitting here like, okay, I got to snap my fingers on beat 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and you snap. I'm not putting tension, building up tension to my hand until beat 4. It is, I literally wait until beat 4. And then at that moment, then I put the energy in my hand. My fingers are prepared in the shape, but the energy doesn't come. And after I snap my finger, I'm not still squeezing my fist.
Yeah.
So it's just one moment of energy, and that's it. I'm relaxed. It's a flick, and then I'm relaxed. So ascending and descending slurs are very similar. I also use the analogy for younger students. It's like flipping a light switch. It's the light is off and it's on, and like once it's on, or once it's off, it's off. You're not still sitting there holding the switch down to keep the light off.
Maybe you aren't.
So it's just a moment of a click, and then that's it. There is no more tension, no more energy being wasted, being expended. So I think that's important too. Like, you're not winding up your 4th finger. You're not pulling it until the exact moment.
Yeah.
It's just
then also that.
Yeah.
Then you also get into like you were saying before, where like you're bending the string,
and
getting
so
a little microtone in there.
Yeah, it's that flick, and once you're done with that flick, you've relaxed that finger. And ascending slurs are the same thing. Once you come down and you've pushed that string against the fret, you no longer need to add any more energy.
Yeah. I mean, if it's a sustained note, then you're obviously sustaining it on the ascended, note.
Yes.
But then that finger that you played with before, that's done,
Yes.
Yeah, it's an interesting kind of like, shift in balance of that pressure for left-hand slurs. So yeah, it's an interesting thing.
Yeah. Ooh, while we're on this, I have something that's closely related to this topic. Based on your left-hand energy, in the context of doing a scale, I'm curious. I have not explored this very much myself, so I'll be kind of relying on your guys' take on it. How much relaxation can you put into a finger after you're done playing it? Like, say you're just starting a 2-octave major scale in first position, like the C major shape. So you play 2, put 2 down, and you play your C. And then your next note is your D, and you go to play that with your 4-finger. How much can you let your second finger relax when you're done with it?
I think like,
Totally?
Manicure, spa day type thing, I don't, Let it relax.
Margaritas on the beach.
Yeah,
Just let it relax as much as total relax. Because you have to put some energy in it to get it aligned eventually
Okay,
with
so maybe
with the next string.
yeah.
So
Let's
how
talk
much
about
can
that.
you relax it? How empty can it be of energy before you have to start moving it over its next destination?
I guess it depends on how fast you're playing, right? And
Yeah.
I also think, like, I personally do not like that idea that, like, if you're playing a slow legato scale, that you're keeping your fingers kind of caged in the frets that they need to play next, you know?
Hmm.
Like, you're holding tension in your left hand just because you got to play your first finger on, whatever fret
Huh.
you play. I think you can
Interesting.
just kind of let that, I mean, they're not going to squeeze or something, but if you're on your second finger and you're playing quarter notes, maybe 60 BPM, and you just let your hand relax and reach back, and when it's ready, if you're playing a fast
Huh.
scale, then you would hold your hand would be in that position and just kind of letting it rip. It's kind of a
Hmm.
constant kind of tension.
Oh, so you'd have more constant tension the faster you
I
go.
guess,
I mean,
yeah,
you'd
because
have to, right?
you
Because you
would
got to be
need to,
really
yeah.
efficient. You got to be right over your
You can only play
destination.
so fast. You can't just let your hand kind of go in and out of
Yeah, here's the
skill.
question, about relaxed states, right? We talked about this in the right hand.
We
Yeah,
did.
It's this in the right hand. We kind of talked about it like in a ready zero position tournament.
Yeah.
sure,
So
yeah.
the left hand is similar, right? When relaxed, does relax mean like my hand is open? Relaxed still means curled. Does that require energy to keep your fingers curled
Yeah.
close to the strings?
Does
I
it?
mean, when I practice keeping like my chromatic scale. The fingers that aren't playing are within a centimeter of the strings.
Yep.
I'm not saying they're within a centimeter of the frets, so I'm not like, especially in first positions, I'm not
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
extending vertically and putting tension into that. I'm not doing that. But as far as my fingers being
You mean
rounded
like
and in line with the string,
do you mean horizontally? Like
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I'm not opening up my hand to
Yeah, yeah.
play. Like I think that's what you meant. Like you're not keeping your first
Yeah,
finger
yeah.
open. You're not having an open hand shape. You're keeping a relatively closed hand shape as you're playing your
Yeah.
scale. And then this roundedness and how close to the frets strings you are. When you say relaxed, some people might get the image of it's just like they're open.
Yeah, yeah.
Relaxed in my mind means curled and close to the frets with minimal energy to no energy, right? But
Hmm.
minimal. There's still some energy to maintain a ready shape,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I think that that's important to maintain. We are playing guitar. We're not relaxing completely.
Hmm.
We don't have our feet up on the couch. So there is some shape you have to make, and whether that requires, that should require a minimal amount of energy. But I think at first, though, young students have to force it. I remember when I first learned to keep my fingers close to the strings, I had to force it. And then eventually I relaxed into the shape.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Does that make sense? Because I had to control my fingers from flailing. I'm like, no, no, no. It takes some energy to keep it there. And now my fingers
Yeah.
know this shape, that this is the relaxed shape because I've learned to relax here.
Yeah, I mean, I
Hmm.
think that's the cause of doing something a little like those fingers kind of popping out. It's like, the whole, when you're driving and your shoulders are up, it's because you're doing something that's like you're playing this kind of instrument and like it doesn't feel natural, so your body's kind of responding with like tension.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I think that's related to that. But you're right. I mean, over time, just kind of having to learn that shape and when one finger does something, that whole finger independence that the other fingers aren't kind of freaking out or yeah.
Yeah. What is your take though on Scott's point that if you're going faster, do you need to have that tension constantly in
No,
your hand?
I don't think so.
Oh, you don't think so?
No.
Interesting. Wow. Huh.
I think you practice your scales slow with fluid movement, and then you just speed that up. So the stretch happens, but it just happens,
Huh.
in as
Yeah,
you play.
I,
I
I
don't
could
think.
I could get
Yeah.
on. I could agree with that maybe. I'm not entirely sure to be honest, but I like that idea better.
The only time I would do that is
Yeah.
like, I mean, I can only imagine like just being in like the only time my hands would really be open are in the first few positions, first, second position,
Yeah.
to really have to force that shape if I had to
Yeah.
think about it.
Wow. Huh.
After that third fret on up, like there's nothing that I'm
Yeah, yeah, of
reaching
course.
for.
Yeah.
So like, and usually if I'm playing scale, I'm not playing quick scales in first position too often. I'm trying to think, you know.
That's all I do. I'm kidding.
I mean, there are like second position scales, like
Of course, but it's not really.
Huh.
I mean, I do find some trouble reaching in second position. It's definitely not natural for my hand. Like for me, it gets more comfortable in 4, 5.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I'm an advocate for shorter scale guitars.
yeah, I think that's probably the better idea. But yeah, I mean, I guess like if you're playing like super fast scales and you just have this kind of like, because it's kind of like this whole accordion thing where the fingers are kind of like
They fan out.
they fan out, yeah.
Like a fan.
So if those are kind of, I don't know. I'm not sure what that reflex is like. If it's the same as the reflex that you have in the right hand when you.
That's what I was going to ask. So,
Yeah.
do you think that
Would that reflex kind of go in and out like as quickly as you would need it, just more naturally?
Can you do the same single do you do single impulse with your fingerboard?
Oh my
hand?
gosh.
Yeah, fingerboard hand, single impulse.
Lateral left hand single impulse.
Yep. I mean that's kind of what we're advocating for a bit. It's
Yes.
being in this neutral, relaxed position,
Uh-huh.
using energy to play, depress the string, and then when you're done depressing that string, releasing the tension and relaxing, it's pretty much the same concept.
Yes, 100%.
100%. Wow, that's
But-
wild.
Yeah, is it though? Because I mean, like when you like, okay, so you're talking about pressing the string in, right?
Yeah, just doing a scale, basically.
Okay, just doing a scale, but you have to you play the string
Yep, depress it,
and
make it sad.
when you depress it, then you have to maintain that
You
depression.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I feel like that kind of like maintaining the pressure there for that amount of time is different than a single impulse because it relies less on reflex and more on a kind of a holding.
That's true. It couldn't be a single impulse, it would be two impulses.
Yeah, it'd
'Cause
be
the
a
first
pressure
impulse
and then a
is
release.
pressure and then a release.
You'd have to actively release it. Yeah.
But do
Or-
you have to actively release
Well,
it?
yeah,
Or
'cause
you
you
just
have to-
relax and let it go.
Well, it's holding down, so I think you do have to just kind of consciously say.
Well, yeah,
"Oh,
you would have. So you are right. You would have to consciously release, but is it release and then you're done, or is it release and then put energy in your finger to move it back to a neutral position?
I think when we start talking about single impulse,
I love it. It's the best
that's
ever.
the time when we conclude the podcast.
No, it's
It's
not.
like-
That's when we go for another
That's our
hour.
sign off. Single
it's
impulse
not.
is our sign off cue.
I
Or-
brought it to the left hand.
or
You
Once
can't
again,
escape it,
you've
Scott.
listened to the Detroit Guitar Trio podcast.
Oh man.
Or is it when you put your finger against the string to depress it, and after that you're not expending any more energy because that's where you're using the weight. You've moved your
of
finger.
your arm?
You moved your finger in contact, and now you've depressed it, but your weight is really what's holding it, and you're not actually squeezing. You're not expending any
You'd
more
have
energy.
to put something. Then your finger would cave in. If your finger was totally relaxed, your finger would have to.
I know.
cave
I'm
in.
not. I'm not advocating for it. I'm just talking about
Okay.
what's
all right.
going on.
That's fine.
You know.
Throw it out there.
I
man.
think we're looking. I mean, once I bring the the string to the fret, I'm not expending any more energy. I don't.
Yeah, but
feel
you are when
You've got to be a little.
you've got to, because like if you're doing a chord.
How is it staying down?
We're talking about single fingers and scales.
Yeah.
If we're talking about chords, like again, I've told you I've had some weird shapes where I just
Yeah.
we're
You
grabbing
have
that
to.
shape.
You have to add. That.
I'm using tension, but if we're talking about like one
We're
single
talking about
finger,
scales. Single finger on
one
the
single
scale.
finger. Once my fingers push that string down, I don't. There's not as
Yeah,
a
I guess
noticeable.
I don't.
I guess there's that
There's got to
piece
be
that-
something.
there's this piece, okay, of like maintaining the string down, right? That we're not kind of, we have no conclusion on yet. And then the other part is that kind of side to side
Yeah, it would be nice to
extension.
talk about that.
Because
It's
I
like
don't
if you're
think,
doing the Vulcan,
yeah, yeah,
live
yeah.
long and prosper.
So that
Those
is not the
muscles.
same. I don't feel like as a single impulse
Yeah,
finger in
it's
that sense.
different. Those are different muscle groups.
Different
I
muscle groups.
agree
It
on that.
doesn't use. It's not reflexive. It's just
It
kind of
doesn't
like
respond the same
it's
way.
elastic, not like a reflexive type thing. It's more of a,
Yeah,
I don't know,
yeah.
something weird about that. It doesn't respond. So I feel like it could never get. That's something that wouldn't necessarily ever get quick. It's not something that you're kind of calling on and kind of releasing.
Yeah, they kind of want to return to neutral though.
They do. You're right.
They
Yeah, but
do want
there's
to.
some elasticity or something that's kind of like.
Yeah.
Is that the same with the impulse? I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's weird because I'm pretty sure. I hope not. I don't think you use any of that in your plucking.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so. I mean, hopefully I'm right about that.
I mean, look.
I've tried it before. It's not pleasant.
I mean, I think we do. I'm playing some rep where like my A finger is on string 1 and my like M fingers on
Where
string
you're doing this
on
a little
string
bit.
4.
Yeah,
You
I
have
guess.
to.
I guess if you have different spacing with your right hand,
There's
yeah.
some stuff. There's some like Tarega exercises that have these kinds of
Really
things. Yeah.
interesting.
So I mean,
I don't
like,
use them at all.
actually, well, you do if like, so say your A finger's on the
What?
first string, and then your M is
Okay.
on 3 or maybe even
Yeah.
4.
Yeah. I'm playing
What if you
stuff
play
like
A
that
stretch
right now.
like that is different than. I don't feel like I have to use these to stretch far.
A
I
little
think
bit.
there's a slight amount of that kind of side to side stretching.
Really?
So
Wow.
can we get back to this stretching though? This
we'll go
vertical
back.
stretching.
We'll go back.
So Scott, it's not reflexive. I would agree with you 100%. It's not as, but it is. So if depending on the speed of your scales, if you practice this slow,
Uh-huh.
I'm doing let's say 1, 3, 4, and then
Ooh, we're
one
playing
on-
minor scales?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
fine. 1, 3, 4, and then one on the next string.
Okay.
Let's say, okay, so 1, and as I put 3 on, 1 releases, and it kind of comes closer to 2. It's not as big of a stretch.
Yeah, yeah.
Going back to neutral.
As I'm going to 4,
Uh-huh.
my first finger's already stretching out to 1. So it's not a consistent stretch, and it's fluid. And as you speed that up, how how early you prep that stretch depends on your hand, right?
Yeah.
So, I think it's still a relax, but I'm not forcing that shape. It comes in and it might be much shorter, but it's still that extension and contraction is still a fluid motion. I'm not just keeping it extended the whole time when I do my scales.
Yeah. That's interesting. I mean, I guess I've always felt like when I'm playing slower, more legato scales, then I'm kind of like you're describing, letting that fluid motion take place. And it's kind of this little ballet with the fingers going in and out. But if I'm trying to play kind of faster scales, and I'm really kind of just staying in that position, and maybe I have to consider that. I don't know.
Oh God, I can't tell. Right now, I've watched Marcin Dill at like 0.25%.
Yeah.
And I've been watching him, and because I'm like trying to steal fingerings and
Sure.
and when
Zooming in
things are sped up, like his fingers look like water, right?
Yeah.
Not sped up normal. They just like he's the most fluid looking player I've ever seen. I slow it down to 0.25, and this stuff is like super fast. And yet his hand still looks like water, and it's still very fluid.
He's got Tai Chi in his hand.
It is amazing the energy of how he moves and reaches for things, and I'm so jealous.
Wow.
But he has worked. You can tell he has worked so hard on that, and so I think good mechanics slow, and then as you speed them up is the only way that you can play fast, relaxed.
Yeah, I mean that's generally what I advocate for. Is
exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I would be happy to, be a little, off on that one for sure.
Yeah. I mean, we would just have to see if it's possible to play, or for my own personal experience as I continue building speed. It's like, how relaxed can I keep my left hand and still be able to play fast, or do I need it to be tense and in a very efficient relative to the string position the whole time?
That just sounds like a bad idea.
Doesn't it? It sounds horrible. I like the idea of being really relaxed the whole time, even fast.
Yeah.
And like extending to get the note, and then when you're done with the note, let it relax. You think you could do that at high speeds?
Yeah.
Marcin Dilla does it.
Yeah. I'm going to go for that.
Go watch the Romeros. They,
They do it?
they play super fast, and it looks like they're doing nothing.
Wow. I'm going to explore it, man. I'm going to go on the path, man. Let's see what happens. It sounds nice.
Report back, yeah.
I will.
Watch them.
Once I'm ripping away at 150 BPM.
I think that's an interesting consideration, for sure.
I'm going to explore it, man. My fingerboard hand feels kind of sluggish, I think I need a lot more relaxation in it.
I mean, an example of the opposite, an example of what Scott's talking about could be like Elliot Fisk. His left hand is kind of always poised.
Ooh.
Like perfect.
Like a tiger.
Really square.
Ready to strike.
To the neck. And his fingers are kind of already stretched.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he can play great doing that too.
Yeah, so there's different schools, I suppose. People achieving success for a while.
He also has a kind of a tight sound. It's his own sound, but I don't know if it's the most relaxed sound, and I mean it's also part of our personalities and things like that too.
Yeah.
So I don't know. There's a lot of really great qualities to his playing, but that is also something you can kind of see in his hand, and maybe perhaps even that's possible. A result like the sound, the character of his music is a result of that.
Yeah. But anyways, cool stuff to explore. Alrighty, wow, what an odyssey. We made it through ups and downs, pursuing truth and knowledge in the left hand today. Thank you so much for anyone who may have been listening. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you in the next installation. Bye-bye.